We've got Marsha Watlan, and she is the Ag Inspector for Becker County and works through the Becker Soil and Water Conservation District as well. Good morning, Marsha.
Good morning, Carol. It's good to be back visiting with you.
Yes. So we've got a lot going on here in our area. And of course, this is probably a busy time of year for you too, as the snow is melting and you're getting out and doing some inspections of fields, and also you do gravel pit inspections as well. But some of the things that you work with are noxious weeds and also more. You're going to talk about pesticide and pollinators, and also some of the additions to the Noxious Weed Law this morning. So we got a lot to get to.
Oh yes, there's a lot going on in the ag world.
Yes.
We've a lot of different things. I'm finishing up the seed inspections. Pesticide applications have been put on hold a little bit until we can get back to testing. MDA is working that out. They've got 3 sites in Minnesota, hopefully to help the businesses that need to get certified workers. I guess one of the biggest things that we're going to be starting out with this year is there were 3 grants that I wrote last year with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture and Board of Water and Soil Resources for the CWMA grant. We were fortunate enough to receive 100% of all 3 grants, and these are geared to on the ground helping landowners. So with that, yesterday I started meeting with the cities. I was able to get through 5 of the cities in Detroit Lakes. And you know, we have to use the distancing and keep that all good there. The grants that we have this year are the MDA is offering 2 grant levels. It's been level 1 for the last 2 years. This year they added a level 2, which is a collaborative one. So we received the 1-year grant. Total that we could get was $10,000, and that's what we have received. The level 2, the maximum you could get is $50,000, and that's what we received, and that is geared as a collaborative. So that would be Becker, Clay, Hubbard, Monoman, and West Ottertail. So it's going to be a different one. We were one of the few ones that received the total amount. So it's going to be really nice with the county ag inspectors working together, because it's geared to working with your county ag inspector. And one of the things that is important to know, this isn't just for any weeds. There's a lot of weeds out there. We're used to hearing about thistles. What I'm going to be gearing for with this grant and what it was written for is poison hemlock, meadow and brown knapweed. We've also have common tansy, non-native phragmites, and crown vetch. And the only one that isn't on the prohibited one is crown vetch. And one of the reasons that we went with that is our cooperative weed management partners that have been together since 2006. This has been a concern in our native areas where we're doing our crop reserve programs, just different ones like that. So it's exciting to be able to get out there in the field, and even though our office is closed, we can do field inspections and work with people out there with restrictions on meeting.
All right, very good. I'm on the line this morning with Marsha Watlan, and she is the Ag Inspector for Becker County, talking about some of the grants that she's gotten for prohibited noxious weeds for 2020. And I bet it is a very interesting time, because you know that's the thing that people have a hard time with, because we're getting into spring now, warming temperatures this weekend, but there's some things prohibited to do, especially that contact with people, and you deal with people all the time in your line of work, along with weeds. But you have to make that first initial human contact as well. So talk a little bit more too about some of the other things that you work with, of course. Tell us a little bit about pesticides and pollinators, because I'm assuming, you know, the grant money, is that used to obviously control the pests, so you have to apply insecticides, or you also use some natural, what are they called, natural means of getting rid of weeds and bugs to
Those are great questions. One of the things with the pesticide, we use the best management practices. Herbicides are one of them. And then it can be mechanical. It can be improving your site, just with the different management practices, and that's where I help. Half of my job is education. So when we talk about pesticides and pollinators, pesticides can be very confusing. You can just put them all in one category or take them separately. So we have your fungicides, we have your insecticides, we have your herbicides, we have your rodenticides. And then you can also bring in your organic items that people don't realize can also be toxic. So you have to be very familiar with how these work. The Lakes Region Garden Club called me earlier this year, so I did a wonderful presentation there. I just love the group, Robin Turnwell. And so that put me in the topic of pesticide and pollinators. I hadn't done an education program on that. So where it is important in weed management this time of year is a really important time. Switching your management practices to using such a thing as herbicide to the spring and fall has made a huge difference. I have dealt with pollinators for over 40 years. I taught chemical application at NDSU Botano back in the early 80s. So it's always been close, whether it's been land and range management or whatever. So with insecticides, and also listening to the Xerces Society, if anybody wants to look that up, they do a phenomenal job. So insecticides cover everything in insecticides. You're spraying mosquitoes, guess what? You'll probably get a few other varieties of insects, such as your pollinators. You do fungicides. They're finding out more that those are detrimental to our pollinators. Herbicides. I go to listen to the trainings, but I've also worked with this. The detrimental part of herbicides is that your vegetation material goes down. I was listening to a Xerces program yesterday. Now, as a county ag inspector and also with the state of Minnesota, the excellent program we have, one of the things that weed management does, it opens up for native plants. So, for example, you get a common tansy in. That is just takes over the whole area. Nothing else comes in. It blooms, available for pollinators, maybe 3 weeks. Then the pollinators starve the rest of the time. Where we have implemented our best management practices, we are getting pink lady slippers back. We are getting the native grasses that are necessary for pollinators too. People don't realize grasses are important. And then we start getting the rudbeckias. I've seen liatris or blazing star, if you're not familiar, even coming back in our gravel pits. So as a county ag inspector, and I represent our association for the state, I'm on the board, we do not approve of using the term just pesticide. We want people to be specific because it's very confusing for landowners, for weed inspectors. So when we deal with herbicides, it has to do with timing. What can affect it is what you add to the herbicides, such as a surfactant, or maybe we call them a sticker. And that can be an oil base, that can be your Dawn dish detergent. So those are the things we need to be concerned with, and timing. You know, when we talk about timing, I like to treat plant material when they're in the rosette stage before they even attempt to send out a flower. And starting in May, anybody that's working out in your garden now, this is a time to look for that and do treatment. Pollinators are not out, they're looking for food, and they're going to head to the areas, our native plant material, and go for those.
All right, go ahead. Marsha, we're having a few little glitches here. We're via Zoom this morning, so we're watching.
Are we disconnected?
No, we're not disconnected. There's just a few little glitches. I'm sure this is a busy time of the morning, but go ahead. As far as looking for rosettes and looking when you're working in your yard this time of year.
Material, the rosettes, they're close to the ground and they're easy to.
Okay. All right. So you're cutting out a little bit more, Marsha. So Marsha Watlan is from the ag. She's the ag inspector from Becker County on the line with us this morning. One thing I wanted to ask you too before we go here, but we have a few more minutes. Let's talk a little bit about, how about dandelions? Are they good or bad for our lawns? And if they are in our lawns, do we want them there, or do we have to eradicate those?
Again, if you're a lawn owner, you don't want the dandelions in there. Again, spray in the morning. Don't start spraying at 9 and 10. Get up early and spray them between 6 and 8 in the morning before the pollinators are really moving. Let the herbicide dry onto the plant material. Then you're not going to have an issue. And if you are using insecticides, same thing. Do it earlier for whatever you're trying to get, because you will take out a lot of that.
All right, and before we go here too, also talk a little bit about the 2020 Noxious Weed Law while we still have the chance here.
Okay, that sounds great. It has changed. The Commissioner of Agriculture has sent out what has changed. Most of it is shrubs added on there, which we don't have a lot of issue with. And the only other ones would be some ornamental plants, such as your Japanese honeysuckle, your knotweeds. Those are things. Do not go ditch cleaning. Do not have your friends from Minneapolis, St. Paul say they have a really nice plant and want to put it in your yard. Same with the Rochester. We have a lot of issues over in that part of the state, and to transfer them would be really tough. And if you have a weed complaint, please call our office at 218-846-7360. We are trying to get everything through. You may have to call again or email. And the other thing is, you have your local weed inspectors. I gladly will work with landowners. I work with and can meet out at the sites. As far as our noxious weeds, everything is updated on the Becker County webpage under soils. Go to the county ag inspector. The only thing that I'm still working on is the gravel pits. I will be inspecting 77 gravel pits by May 20th to update it. And that's along with meeting with 40 township local weed inspectors. So I'm going to be out, and I can stop, but I have to have your name and address and fit you into the agenda.
Okay, just back up there. 77 gravel pits in what area? And is that just Becker County, or is that around?
This is just Becker County. We have a phenomenal resource that is being used, and we have an excellent program here. And one of the reasons is for that is our county commissioners support purchasing from only certified gravel pits, and so do 36 out of the 40 townships in all 7 cities for purchasing from gravel pits. And now we have 9 other counties that were certified at our short course training last summer in the state. So that's pretty nice.
Some interesting information from Marsha Watlan this morning, our Becker County Ag Inspector. And Marsha, as always, I appreciate you coming on. Always a great time to talk to you and get up to date on what you're up to these days. And sounds like you are very, very busy once again. So.
Well, it's great. It's going to be great being out there working with people from a distance. And again, just call our office. We like working with you. We've got all kinds of talent in our office. And I will get back with you either 7 in the morning or when I get back in the office.
All right, Marsha. Thanks so much, and be well.